Why? Happy Wednesday. It's a glorious Wednesday. I think it was 74 on my thermometer here in the southern state of Texas. But we're going to be talking about Sheila Jackson Lee, which is proudly serving the 18th District of Texas. She represents Texas in, I think, the U.S. House Representative, and she is a racist. Now we're going to go a little bit into detail on how I came to that conclusion with one bill. Just one bill proves that she's a racist. But we're going to first go into her full biography. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is an influential and forceful voice in Washington as she's serving her 14th term. 14th, so that's 8 years. Going to be 28 years representing the state of Texas and Washington. 14th term as a member of the United States House Representative. She represents the 18th Congressional District of Texas, centered in Houston. So if you live in Houston and comes 2024, I would highly suggest that you don't vote for her in the primaries. Just in the primaries, I don't think she should get renominated. I think there should be a challenger. I think there should be someone that's not racist. Now, of course, I know people are going to be like, well, she's black. She can't be racist. She has no power. Which means that a House of Representative in Washington, D.C. has no power. She's the epitome of having power in our legal system. Well, I guess legal system, but it definitely is a member of a government, which therefore has power, which is the energy capital of the world, considering that many as the voice of reason. She's dedicated to upholding the constitutional rights of all people. She sits on 3 congressional committees, senior member of the House Committee, Judiciary, and Homeland Security, appointed by the leadership of member of the Crucial Budget Committee. I think this is probably no longer a thing, but has been updated. In previous Congress, she had authored and introduced and saw passage of the Reauthorization of Violence Against Women Act. Additionally, she introduced several bills, including the Juvenile Accountability Block Grant Reauthorization and Bullying Prevention, and the Intervention Act, H.R. 71, a Federal Prison Bureau Nonviolent Offender Relief Act in 2015, and H.R. 4660, an amendment to the Commerce, Justice, and Science Appropriation Act for the fiscal year 2015, affirming the authority of the Attorney General to reduce prison overcrowding and developing and implementing lawful policies relating to the request for executive clemencies from deserving petitioners. I mean, yes, I do think we need prison reform. We need to send in place people that could reform. It's not just a timeout. And the question comes, do you force people to reform or not? I mean, it's like sending a drug addict to rehab when they don't want to get clean. She, in the past, ranking members of the Homeland Security Subcommittee for Maritime and Border Security, wherein she co-authored H.R. 1417, a bipartisan bill which touted as the best vehicle for accomplishing comprehensive immigration reform in the House of Representatives. Congresswoman Jackson Lee was also the past chairman of the Homeland Security Subcommittee of Transportation, Security, and Infrastructure Protection, under which her leadership she passed the Transportation Security Act of 2007, which increased funding to American transportation security. As chairwoman, Congresswoman Jackson led support enhancing technology to better intelligence, increasing airplane cargo inspection, increased the security for railroads, and implementation of the 911 Commission report. Oh, 9/11 report. She was named Congressional Authority as one of the 50 most effective members in Congress, and the U.S. News and World Report named her one of the 10 most influential legislators in the U.S. House Representative, also the Center of Effective Lawmaking joint initiative between the University of Virginia and Vanderbilt University named her the second most effective Democrat in Congress during the 114 Congress and the 15th most effective Democrat in Congress during the 115th Congress, and most effective Democrat in Texas delegation during the 115th Congress. She is a founder and a member of the Congressional Children Caucus, authored, introduced in the H.R. 83 Bullying Prevention Intervention Act in 2013. She is the past chair of Congressional Black Caucus Energy Brain Trust. Co-author, serves as the Chief Deputy Whip for the Democratic Caucus, past chairperson of Texas Congressional Democratic Delegation for the 113th Congress, and the past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Board. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee earned her BA in Political Science from Yale University with honor in the first graduating class, including females, followed by JD from the University of Virginia Law. She's married to Dr. Elwyn Lee, who also is a Yale graduate and administrator at University of Houston. She has two children, Jason Lee, a graduate of Harvard University, and Erica Lee, graduate of Duke University, who's also the member of the Harris County School Board in Houston, Texas. She's also a proud grandmother of two grandkids, twins, granddaughter of Ellison Burnett Carter and grandson Roy Lee Carter III. But none of this speaks racism, you ask. But you know that I'm getting to that. I mean, we're going to get to that. This is a bill of the 118th Congress, 2023 to 2024, H.R. 61. The 108th Congress, first session to prevent and prosecute white supremacy-inspired hate crimes and conspiracy to commit white supremacy-inspired hate crimes, and to amend Title 18 United States Code to expand the scope of hate crimes. That's right, Ms. Jackson Lee introduced the following bill, which referred to the Committee on Judiciary, to prevent and prosecute white supremacy-inspired hate crime to conspiracy to commit white supremacy-inspired hate crime, and to amend Title 18 United States Code to expand the scopes of hate crimes, to be enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Short title, this act may be cited as Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. If you haven't seen the problem yet, they're just singling out one particular race. I've seen many videos from New York where Asians were getting knocked out, and there's been a common theme of all of them of a certain skin tone, and they're not white. I mean, we got to address black supremacy as well, don't we? Or how about Asian supremacy or Hispanic supremacy? How about just any type of supremacy we should be against? Because I don't think any one group is better than another. Section 2, White Supremacy-Inspired Hate Crime. A person engaging in white supremacy-inspired hate crime when white supremacy ideology is motivated, the planning, development, preparation, or preparation of action constitute a crime, or where undertake furthermore the activity, if evaluated, would constitute a crime. I mean, that'd be if I was posting anti-black tweets and I go find a black person and I lay him up. That can be considered a hate crime because I presented a history of not liking black people. This is just an example. That could be used as a multiplier, and I'm using me because I'm not going to sue myself. I don't see an issue with different groups. I mean, there's actions that are taken that I don't like. But this is actually one action I don't like is hate crimes, because Not saying that I don't think there is hate crimes. I just think that it's adding a multiplier that shouldn't be added, giving the government more power. Yeah, of course, we all know what conspiracy is, even though conspiracy is technically not a crime because I could be conspiring to give Miss Jackson Lee a surprise birthday party. That in itself is a conspiracy, but the act of giving a surprise birthday party is not illegal. This is more of committing a crime like a bank robbery or whatnot. Between two or more persons engaged in planning, developing, preparation, or the perpetration of white supremacy inspired hate crime, or between two or more persons, at least one whom is engaging in planning, development, and preparation or perpetration of white supremacy inspired hate crime, and at least one whom published material advancing white supremacy and white supremacy ideology, antagonism based on replacement theory. Well, you know, I do believe in the replacement theory. This was a theory I think was in the 1980s or 1990s, which just highlighted numbers saying that the minorities on themselves combined were outbreeding the majority at the time, which were whites, which held over 50% of the population, like the Asians and the Hispanics and the blacks were producing more kids combined than the white people were producing kids. And over time, we were going to see a shift in skin tone, which is just facts, and there's nothing to argue for or against it, other than white people need to start having more kids. But actually, I think black people need to have more kids. They represent, I think, either 13 or 15% of the population, and they're not increasing their numbers to rise above to 20 or 30%. And I think that is needed. I think we need more people of different backgrounds to build this melting pot up. I'm actually fine with, I think whites are now 46% or 48% of the population, and I'm okay with that. Now, I think they're also going to lop into what I'm against when it comes to the replacement theory, which is we got Americans, mixed bag of Americans who are come from different backgrounds, different skin tones, actual Americans being replaced by immigrants, which I consider illegal immigrants that are flooding the southern border. That's also another replacement theory that's being touted about, and I'm against replacing Americans with non-Americans being the majority. I think we should definitely look into limiting that, and that's just numbers. And I'm not saying that one country has more illegal immigrants coming in here than not. I think we just, as a whole, Americans as a whole, American citizens as a whole, should be the majority citizens of our country. At least one who let's see here. Based on a replacement theory or hate speech that vilifies or otherwise directed against a non-white person or a group, such as published material, published on social media platform or by other means of publication with the likelihood that would be viewed by persons who predisposal to engage any action or furthermore a white supremacy inspired hate crime or who substantively being encouraged to engage in actions or furtherance of white supremacy inspired hate crime. This is the same argument the Republicans use against NWA and other groups like that, saying that they're going to be inspiring gang violence because they're rapping about gang violence, about street life. So therefore, we want to block them from producing such materials that promote a lifestyle that we don't agree with. This goes against the First Amendment, and this bill should not have been filed because it goes against the First Amendment. You're going to be predisposed of. How am I supposed to know that someone watching is me criticizing Lee Jackson wouldn't be predisposed to not liking her, seeing this as further evidence that they need to do an action against her? I'm not asking for that, by the way. I think this should be debated on its merits and should be voted down within the House of Representatives and not proceed to the Senate floor. And I do believe in 2023 or 2024, she should lose her primary to another Democrat that is not racist, that won't publish such proposal bills in the House of Representatives. Those are all legal terms, or legal ways to remove her from office. I am not promoting any type of retribution other than voting her out of office, because she definitely does need to be that, because this is not the type of representative that we need representing of America's best interests. Could be determined by a reasonable person, motivate action, not to be disposed, engage in white supremacy. I mean, there's a lot of repeat. Was read or heard or viewed by a person engaging in planning the development, preparation, or perpetration of white supremacy-inspired hate crime. What about black supremacy crimes? What about New York, where you got a bunch of a-holes knocking people out because they're not black? That's a hate crime. Department of Justice Authority Enforcement Monitoring and Reporting. Department shall have the authority to conduct operation activities pursuant to the section, specifically in regard to information or evidence obtained by the Department of any action cited in this section. Department shall have the authority to investigate or intercept or undertake other actions that deem necessary or appropriate to interdict, mitigate, or prevent such actions from communicating. The department shall have the authority to prosecute a person who is engaged in action cited in this section. And uniform crime reporting into the Department of Justice shall maintain records of white supremacy, inspired hate crimes, and related actions cited in the sections of reinforcement, therefore of. But the hate crimes got to be defined. Let's see here. Department shall report blah blah blah. Section 249A1 of Title 18 U.S. State Code amended in the matter preceding subparagraph A, inserting after race, color, religion, or national origin of any person following or because of white supremacy-based motivation against any person, and subgraph B, cause of striking, or at the end, in clause of striking the period inserting and or by adding the end of the following, in offenses for the more of white supremacy-based motivations. Secretary for finding section blah blah blah, Shepard and James, hate crimes prevention blah blah blah, is amended by adding the following: mass shootings and other hate crimes motivated by white supremacy should have increased in frequency and intensity. These heinous and virulent crimes are inspired by conspiracy theories, blatant bigotry, mythical falsehoods such as replacement theories. In all instances, must prevent a severe criminal penalties must be applied to their perpetrators. So this is pretty much only targeting white people. That means if I have a disagreement with someone that's not white and it gets violent, they could determine I committed a white crime to perpetrate white supremacy. If I promote that I don't want Americans to be replaced by immigrants, that could be considered a replacement theory, even though the original representation of the replacement theory is based off of facts and numbers, that minorities as a whole is going to become a majority, while the majority of the whites will become a minority. And we are a minority of, I think, 48% of the population, and the rest of the minorities are broken down, creating the rest of the population. And it may be a while before another group becomes a majority, even if that is possible. Who knows? We may be all mutts, and the mutts will become a majority, which would be better off. But yeah, this is only reflective of white supremacy, but there's a lot of issues outside of white supremacy. I think it should be just any type of supremacy, regardless if it's black, white, Hispanic, Asian supremacy, should be considered a hate crime and should have the same level of attention. And the fact that she's calling out white supremacy is an attack on white supremacy, leading out other particular ethnic backgrounds, and that makes her a racist, in my personal opinion, because they could have just said supremacy at all. I mean, they could just left it there. But the one that really, really stands out is the published on social media platform or by other means of publication with the likelihood that it will be viewed by a person who are predisposed to engaging in any actions in furthering of the white supremacy inspired hate crime, or who is susceptible to be encouraged to engage in actions and furthermore of white supremacy inspired hate crime. How am I supposed to know the predisposing of my audience when I don't know my audience? I don't have a personal connection with my audience. How am I supposed to know that this won't trigger a hate crime against people? How am I supposed to know? This is just reading the bill. Anyways, this video is going long enough. I read this whole bill, even though I probably shouldn't have. But I do hope this sheds light to who we are electing to represent the state of Texas, who we're electing to represent the United States, and I don't think this type of bill should have ever been drafted and been pushed in this Congress. With that being said, that is my video. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are on the matter of this. I think 2024 she should be not elected in the primaries. You should go with the counterpoint. I'm just asking for another Democrat that's not going to promote this type of energy out there. With that being said, leave a comment down below, but most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.